Joining us now to discuss, because it's Smerconish Friday, is CNN's Michael Smerconish. Michael, good morning. Wonderful to see you.
Good morning.
I honestly would just kind of take your reaction to how President Biden is handling this on his way out. I mean, he clearly is very defensive of his administration and is having a tough time saying goodbye.
So why are incoming President Trump's numbers for him so high? I think it's because of where outgoing President Biden's numbers are. As you've been pointing out, both in terms of job approval and favorability, they're related, but they're two distinct entities. Biden is leaving at an all-time low, 36% job approval. He's got a favorability of 33%. Donald Trump's numbers exceed in each of those categories. I think it's because of a comparison of Trump versus Biden at this low point. Here's the silver lining for outgoing President Joe Biden. When Jimmy Carter left office, he had a 34% job approval rating. In 2023, when Americans were asked retrospectively how they regarded President Carter, he had a 57% approval, and probably at the time of his passing, most recently, it would have been even higher. What's my point? My point is these things are fluid.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, your point is actually made by the fact that, people felt one way when Donald Trump left office, and it only took 4 years for them to decide, well, actually, that wasn't so bad. Our memory has changed. Michael, I want to ask you about this story that the New York Times just posted. It really walks through, it's an excerpt from a book or reporting for a book from two of their journalists, walking through Senator Chuck Schumer, the then Senate Majority Leader's role in pushing Joe Biden off the stage. They detail a meeting that he had with Biden the week before Biden ultimately decided to drop out. But there's an interesting piece in it about what Schumer, and I'm very interested in your take, but clearly there's an effort here to try to write the story about the way that Democrats didn't expose what was going on with President Biden at the time. Because here's what they report. They say, quote, for months, Mr. Schumer had been concerned that Mr. Biden was going to lose to Mr. Trump and cost Democrats Congress. It wasn't that he thought Mr. Biden was not capable of the job during their weekday conversations. The president often rambled, but he always rambled. Once in a while, Mr. Biden would forget why he had called. But Mr. Schumer thought little of it. He was convinced that Mr. Biden could handle the job. But with the Republican messaging machine deriding him relentlessly as old and senile, Democrats were hard-pressed to land any attacks on Mr. Trump. Long before the president's disastrous debate performance, Mr. Schumer had privately concluded that the barrier of Mr. Biden's age was too much for him to overcome. What's going on here? Is this revisionist history and this detail about Biden calling the majority leader and forgetting why?
So I have a couple of thoughts about this. First of all, probably Schumer is familiar with the data that you and I have just discussed, right? They were looking at internal numbers all along and seeing that it was probably an unwinnable race. And secondly, I'm convinced there's a whole backstory here we've never been told about the machinations of the Democratic leadership and how President Biden was actually forced out of the election. I mean, can I remind everybody that George Clooney, not Chuck Schumer, not Barack Obama, not Nancy Pelosi, it was George Clooney writing that opinion piece that was a catalyst for the domino effect that then caused President Biden to step aside and get out of the race. I've always believed that we've never been told everything that went on and what all the warning signs that triggered the alarm bells were. And I just hope the story comes out, not in a negative way toward President Biden. I'm not, hoping for him being besmirched, but I just think we don't know everything and we ought to.
Yeah, it's history for sure. Briefly, Michael,
Yeah.
I want to get to this because it's interesting to me. Eric Adams, the indicted mayor of New York,
Right.
is going to go meet with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. What do you think that's about?
Oh, my God. Pardon me. I think we all know what it's about. I think that Monday, Tuesday is just going to be so difficult to maintain pace with the amount of news that will come out of the new Trump White House. And I would be shocked amidst all the executive orders if there weren't a ton of pardons, including J6ers. By the way, that really troubles me. So I think that the mindset is probably one of get rid of the pardons, deal with them, maybe Eric Adams, maybe not, because there'll be so many other things going on that the media is going to be consumed with so much news that it wouldn't have the impact that it would at a different time, say if he did it 6 weeks in advance. So buckle up for Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, good advice. Michael Smerconish, thank you, as always. Wonderful to see you on this Friday.
Thank you, Casey.
And everyone out there, don't forget, watch
too.
Michael Smerconish tomorrow morning on CNN. Thank you.